Okay, one of the most difficult decisions that you'll make running your StratSim company is sales forecasting. And that is the demand that you're projecting in the coming year for each one of your products. So StratSim doesn't do a sales forecast for you. So you need to come up with an estimate of how many units of each product you think you'll sell over the coming year. And it's really important to try to get that as accurate as you can because you're going to base your production plans, your marketing, capacity planning, and your pro forma estimated results for the entire year on that sales forecast. So to enter your forecast into StratSim, you go to pro forma and you click on the forecast button. Now what StratSim does for you is put in a default sales forecast based on what your sales were in the prior year. But you're going to want to adjust that number for what you think you'll actually sell. And you do that by entering your forecast here in these fields. And your pro forma financial statements are totally driven by what you tell the simulation that you're forecasting in sales. So if you click on reports, you go to the income statement, these numbers are being driven by what you've told the simulation you're forecasting in sales. The hard part is what number you're going to actually enter as a forecast and why. So let's go through some of the inputs you can use, and we're only going to cover ideas to forecast the sales of existing products you've already developed and are selling. And we'll leave it to you to think about forecasting the sales you have of products you're upgrading or even brand new vehicles. So here are some inputs and factors to consider in setting your sales forecast. And to start with, you can use your previous sales for any vehicle you had that was selling in the previous year. You can see whether or not you have excess inventory. And that means that you had previously estimated your sales a little too high, thus you were left with inventory. Or did you have shortages, meaning that you had estimated your sales perhaps a little too low, as was the case with the Cameo. You can see that you have zero inventory currently. And you want to think too about the specific market that you're trying to sell into. Is it value seekers? Is it families, enterprisers? And even more specifically, what is the projected demand by the specific microsegment that you're targeting? So let's say we're going after the 1E microsegment. So what is the projected demand for that microsegment coming into this year? And is the demand for that vehicle growing or shrinking? And as well, what did customers purchase last year and what was the change from the previous year? And two, you want to consider what percent of that segment's demand in the coming year do you think you'll be able to actually capture? Is it more than last year? And if you look at the unit share column, you want to be thinking about whether competition is really high for this given customer microsegment. And you want to try to predict or at least think about what your competitors will be doing as you set your forecast. Do you have a competitor who you think is going after the same market as you are? What are they going to spend, do you think, on marketing? What has their pricing strategy been? And if you go to competition and marketing, you can really get a sense, like we look at Firm B and look at their Buzzy vehicle, you really get a sense for their pricing strategy, even their dealer discount, and you start to use that as you think about the competition as well. So you want to start when you do your forecast with the sales you achieved last year and then adjust up or down for the factors that we just discussed, plus consideration for what else you've done at your company that could impact demand for your specific product. And there's no hard and fast rule for what percentage changes you make to your firm's demand, so you need to use your judgment. For instance, if you advertise more, that can increase interest in your vehicle and lead to additional sales that you want to include in your forecast. And pricing. Did you raise or lower the price of the vehicle? Did you do an update or a cost reduction on the vehicle that can increase demand? And your dealers too. If you think about dealer discounts or the number of dealers that you've established in a region, that could also have an impact on demand for your vehicles. There are also a couple of tools you can use to analyze how customers are responding to your vehicles. If I go to Tools and click on Focus Groups, you can run a focus group, say on the 1E segment, And you can see what customers think of the cars that are selling into that micro segment, including the Cameo. Also, the sales by micro segment tool can really give you some more granular detail about who specifically is purchasing your product. And you can see that we have 1E and 2E as the highest percentage of customers that are buying the Cameo. And when it's all said and done, just to show the entry in StratSim, and let's say that you're forecasting the Cameo, you know that you've had some shortages last year and that you have no inventory left, and that the market is growing just a little bit. And let's say that you've done some more advertising, as we did in the example, but you kept the price and everything else the same. And after all that, you decide you're going to increase your forecast 10% more than your previous sales last year. So 32, and you'd click on the forecast, 321 plus 32, and go from there. And there's another alternate spot where you can enter your forecast into the simulation as well, and that's on the marketing screen. And you can see here that the 353 that we just entered is reflected as well. And we hope that helps. Thanks a lot.